Did you know that you and I can apply the power of AI, artificial intelligence, to convey the valuable contents of the EHEDG guideline documents in a more effective way to all of your food factory staff members, regardless their position and level of education? Yes, it's true. The future is here, and the first EHEDG Connects webinar of this year is about that topic. And with us today is the webinar presenter, Anthony Chemaly, and he's calling in straight from South Africa, where he works as a food safety auditor for IBL Africa and helps his customers to improve food safety with the help of AI. Thank you very much for doing this, Anthony.
Thanks, Rob. It's an absolute pleasure to be able to chat to everybody about technological evolution, particularly within the confines of resource-poor countries, which is kind of where I focus, where we don't necessarily have accessibility to European equipment, EHEDG certified or 3A certified equipment, and technical staff that are well experienced within First World standards. So.
Well, Anthony, as you know, the level of excellence at EHEDG is extremely high, and we always start these interviews by asking the question, what makes you the ultimate expert for this webinar? Can you tell us a bit about your professional background, please?
I'm a passionate food safety professional. I've got 30 years experience in the food industry. 25 of those years have been in food safety specifically. I've been an auditor for 2.5 decades, run an audit management company, done many years of factory implementation, factory design, factory assessments. I've worked in a lot of industries, protein, meat, long life, food engineering. So hopefully I can bring some of the knowledge I've picked up over the last 3 decades, a lot of which has been in developing countries, around how to bring up and facilitate food safety, and then incorporate technology into it, which is another passion of mine.
Now, why, according to you, would we need to start using AI in the first place? Yes. For years, EHEDG company members have used the EHEDG guideline documents to great effect, downloaded them, passed them on to their staff members.
Correct.
Why use AI?
Going and purchasing the EHEDG standards are fine, and you have these really beautiful standards coming through, but they are sometimes very complex, and sometimes the maintenance manager that you're dealing with at a factory is someone who's just a handyman. He's not a trained engineer. It's not maybe someone that's been trained in a tertiary setting. They're really good at doing what they do mechanically, but they don't necessarily have the knowledge. And then presenting them with an English document, which is quite technical, can be quite challenging for the absorption of that information, and then practically bringing it into the facility and then starting to utilize it to improve the standards. So this is kind of where I'm coming from. And what I've seen is the utilization of easy access AI platforms like ChatGPT, and there's a number of others out there. I'm obviously just quoting ChatGPT because I think it's probably the one everybody knows the best. But utilizing that technology, which is really simple and it's really easy to use, and it's accessible and it's cheap. So if you think about the memberships you're paying on some of these platforms, it's, $10 or $15 a month. It's not big money. And so where I'm coming from is that this is an amazing resource for you to be able to take some of these technical standards, and you can utilize this AI software into simplifying it so that it's understandable to your demographic, your cultural nuances in your facility, and then develop training material utilizing it that is really concise and pretty beautiful. It lands, it's in the language of choice, and it can then be rolled out for you to then upskill your staff within the facilities to then start embracing some of these standards, which is what we want.
Some of our viewers here who attended the previous EHEDG World Congress might recognize your face, Anthony, because you held a presentation there as well about this topic. How is this webinar presentation related to that first presentation you gave in Alt?
What I've shown in my previous presentations at the Congress was the utilization of ChatGPT in taking an EHEDG standard, which you actually, when you've got a paid version of ChatGPT, it's got privacy control, so the documents you attach to it are not shared or disseminated. So what you do is you can actually attach an EHEDG standard into ChatGPT as an example, ask it to read the document, ask it to then simplify the document for an audience who are have a basic high school qualification in a manner in which they can understand it and translate it into Swahili, for example. So these are some of the case studies that we've done. So it will actually translate the entire document within a couple of minutes into a much easier to understand format, which a technical manager can then sit and sort of define and refine, because we know, of course, these chatbots don't necessarily churn out great information always, but what it has the ability to do is very quickly take large amounts of information, disseminate it into an easy to understand format, translate it into another language, in which you can then get somebody to sense check that, and you end up with a very simplified, easy to understand set of standards that you can now start training your staff with, and to implement some of these basic concepts of hygienic engineering in factories. So that's what we've done. So we've got a case study where we've applied this. It worked quite well, where we had a team that's come through. The engineering manager received an advanced training course, so they had that knowledge, but bringing it back into the artisans in the factory was the challenge. So you're sitting with artisans who are not necessarily high school qualified, and in some instances, the guys are not even completely literate, but very good with their hands. So you need to be able to figure out a way to take this technical information about elastomers and PFAS, and stainless steel and types of stainless steel, and disseminate it into a way that you could explain it to someone who would be able to understand it, because illiterate people are not stupid, they just haven't been educated. So and I've had this experience. We've got great mechanical guys that are working in the field. They know how to do things. But when you talk to them about the different types of rubbers that are available in the world, and you start talking about EPDMs and chemical structures, you've lost them. So this is where the AI comes in. You've got the ability for the AI to take that type of terminology and make it into something that's easy to understand, or easier to understand, translate it into another language, and you now already have an infinitely better base on which you can get that understanding out to say to the person, for example, when you go and purchase gaskets, I don't need you to understand what EPDM necessarily means, but I need you to ask the question of the people you're buying from, what is it made out of? And you can then start to match it, what's necessary, and see if it's a food safe item. So that's the practical example of how this is rolled out.
Great. Now, in a nutshell, Anthony, how would you define the practical value of this upcoming webinar?
In a nutshell, for a very small amount of money, you can utilize this technology in a creative way to design and implement training systems to disseminate this technical information, and then start rolling these out practically in factories, which is what we're looking for. We want that knowledge base. We want the technical teams and the maintenance teams to start getting together around this, because what I'm finding is the technical teams are really good on the food safety side, and on HACCP risk assessments, they're really quite good. But when they're understanding how a gasket system works, or how a pump operates, they don't necessarily get that. So we've got that little missing section of the food safety picture. Then we've got the engineering guys that know how to open a pump, fix a pump, and work a pump, but they don't understand HACCP and how that fits into the picture. And so this is just a tool that allows us to then bridge that, train the guys on both sides of the picture utilizing software like this, and make really good, impactful training material quickly, easily, for very low cost.
Now, every EHEDG Connects online webinar comprises a 30 to 40 minute presentation, followed up by a Q&A session where the attendees get the opportunity to pose questions to our experts, to you in this case, Anthony. What kind of questions do you normally get when you present this topic?
What I'm finding when I approach the subject and show the tools off and show what we've done, I'm getting a lot of interest. People are like asking, well, how do you do it? So just show me, practically show me. How would you attach a document into it? How would you transfer it? How would you create code? How would you pull code into PowerPoint? So those are the types of questions, is how do you actually do it?
Last but not least, another EHEDG webinar tradition. Please invite all the viewers here to register and to attend your webinar.
Yeah. All right. So for everybody out there, please register for this webinar on the 25th of February, in which I'm going to be discussing the utilization of artificial intelligence chatbot platforms, which are easy to access and cheap, within the framework of developing and disseminating technical information around hygienic engineering, food safety, and utilizing that to create training documentation, systems, and videos that you can use no matter where you are, at a very, very low cost base. To transfer information and get the food safety picture in your factories where it needs to be, where we need it to be, which is great. So join us. It'll be interesting. It always is, to see these kinds of things. I'll be showing you guys some examples of what it looks like, and hopefully we can get that education level running.
Thank you for this interview, and thank you in advance for the upcoming webinar presentation, Anthony Chemaly of IBL Africa. We're looking forward to it.
Thanks, I appreciate it.